welcome to my channel. Just getting the camera in the right position. My name is Gail. I am the energy-led woman, and this is a diary of the energy-led woman, which is basically just a reflection of my week, looking at it from an energetic perspective, just chatting through it really, and it gives me an opportunity to process the week, and hopefully it gives you an opportunity to look in on this kind of lifestyle, because I think that's really valuable. Whatever I've been trying to embody in my life, whenever I've been in a position of kind of change and wanting to live a certain way, I've always found it really useful to kind of like look in on someone's lifestyle, and being able to kind of talk to you about what's happened to me this week hopefully gives you a little bit of an insight of what it is like to live a life in this way. And it isn't about perfection, as you're going to find out when we get talking today. It is about allowance, it is about trust, it is about flow, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. So this week has not been the best week when it comes down to my energetic practices. So we went away on Saturday for an overnight stay in Lindisfarne. Now, Lindisfarne is, I think there's a name for it, but it's an island up in Northumberland, and it is the only island in the UK where there is a village, if you like, on it. And when the tide comes in, the causeway is kind of, submerged, and you actually can't get off the island until the tide goes back out. And so it's quite an interesting island to actually go and stay on, because there's kind of like an eeriness, I suppose, with that. But there was a couple of reasons. We wanted to go and blur the cobwebs away. My vibe really was along the lines of, I need to get away from life. I just need a break from life. And so we decided to do that. We'd booked it a week or two before, and it was last week. So we headed off really early. I think we were leaving the house at like 7:30 in the morning, stuff like that. So we headed off really early, got there, got packed up, got our walking boots on, got our kind of like thick coat on, and literally went and had a walk. And we were walking for about 2 or 3 hours, blowing the cobwebs away. Came back, had lunch. I can't remember what we did after that. What did we do after that? Oh, we just kind of like had another walk to another pub, came back, We just had a lovely time together. And then the next morning it was beautiful weather, the sun was shining, there was some amazing sunrises. We had a lovely walk again in the morning, and then we drove back through the coastal route. We didn't get home until about 5 o'clock on Sunday night. And while that was amazing, and there was energetic shifts within me, I totally felt that, being across there, being in that kind of windy, kind of rainy, gusty weather on the Saturday, and then the beautiful sunshine the next day was so in alignment with my energy. Being somewhere where at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, everything went quiet was very interesting and very strange. It was originally, like back in the day, I think the first people who lived there were monks. So it's very spiritual. It's very much got that energy. Yeah, it was just a really kind of calming, acceptance. I kind of feel like acceptance is a word, like a calm acceptance energy. I don't know how to, anyway, we got back home on Sunday after having had a brilliant time, lovely time, reconnecting, because I do think sometimes, you know, we live this life where everybody's busy. There's things to do in your house, there's things to do with your family, there's things to do with your work, there's all these things going on, that actually just being able to go somewhere where you can just spend pure time focused on your marriage, your relationship, your significant other is just really important. And so we were able to do that, and it was amazing. And you know, off the back of that comes nudges from your body of the way you want things to be. You know, maybe you want to change things up, maybe you want to, I don't know, maybe you want to make sure that, you know, you have more date nights or whatever. Yeah, let me just have a sip. I've still got a little bit of a cough and a little bit of, you know, sinusy stuff from that flu. Right, so key thing is that this last week, from Monday onwards, I literally feel like I have been clinging on by my fingertips. The world's been going too fast for me. I haven't been in any way, shape or form organised. I have been tired. I have been all the things this week. And so energetics and living an energy-led life has literally dropped by the wayside. I haven't checked into the energy around us. I haven't checked into my energy. I haven't activated frequencies within me. I have literally been just kind of pushed around by life a bit this week. You see how tired I am. So when that happens, it's always an interesting thing for me, because whenever that happens now, it solidifies in me the difference between the two ways of living. So we've got a way of living that is very energetically led, very intentional, very calm, very aware of energy. And then we have this other way of living that is the way of living that most people live, which is survival. Survival mode is the only way that I can describe it. You know, when you are just surviving through the day, you're just getting through the day so that you can get to the evening, so that you can cook tea, so that you can sit and watch a bit of TV, so that you can chill out, so you can go to bed, you know, and then you wake up the next morning and you survive the day again. And that is how most people generally live. They have this, you know, kind of rushing around busyness in their life. And when we're in that zone, we miss important pieces, we miss important things, we miss the gorgeous sunrise, we miss the kind of, you know, the wink from our partner, we miss these little glimmers that are just amazing, and we don't tune into what we're doing quite so well. And that is really the opposite of how I want to live. And I do find that when I fall into that, there is usually a lesson coming through, and I feel like that has happened for me this week. So the energetic theme around this week, when I've looked back on it, because I haven't done it daily, and I do find this really interesting sometimes, because sometimes I go through the week, I log the things I'm thinking about, and I get to the end of the week and I'm like, oh, I haven't looked into the energy this week, I don't know what's going on. And I look into it and I can see how it totally corresponds to what I've been thinking anyway. So kind of, if you wanted an energy theme for this last week, it has been about stripping illusion, keeping only what is structurally true, and preparing for a reset. We've got a big reset coming with the new moon. We're hitting eclipse season. Eclipse season is in February this year. That is just insane to me. But obviously it is what it is, you know. Who knows? You know, it's all pattern, it's all circuits, it's all mechanics. But we are hitting eclipse season as of the next new moon. We are moving out of the we are moving out of the year of the snake into the year of the horse, I believe, which is all about shedding skin. All that is going on right now. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And a lot of the themes that I've been looking into over this last week have been like truth versus narrative. There's been a lot of that. What is the actual truth, and what are the stories that I've been told? What's real? What's real, and what's real for me? You know, there's so much stuff coming out at the moment. I mean, we have the certain files that have been released, which I've caught snippets of it. I don't really want to know the ins and outs of it, but the bits and pieces that I've caught, I don't think I can compute it, you know? I don't think I can compute how absolutely vile and evil it actually is. And it's kind of putting me into this zone where I'm very aware of the kind of books that I read. And the books that I read are kind of fantasy, romantasy, dystopian kind of books, you know, and I did a post actually today, and it's very much about, you know, yeah, I read these kind of books, I do, but why do I read them? I wonder why I read them. And then I'm like, well, you know, let's look around at the world that we live in. You know, we live in a world that we don't think it's kind of dystopian, but actually it probably really is. You know, when the people who are high up in power break their own rules in the worst ways possible, and when you pull in everything else and you look at it from that perspective, you know, we're taught what to think before we can even know how to question anything. There's so much that, you know, there's so much crossover that it's almost like the books are almost more real than the life that we're living at the moment. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. Strip illusion, keep only what is structurally true. Energy theme of the week, right? So a lot has come through to me about truth versus narrative. What's the truth of my life? What's the truth of this situation? What's the truth of my home? What's the narrative? What's the stories that I've created or other people have given me about my home? What's the truth about my work? And what's the narrative and the stories that I've created and other people have created about my work? You know, what's the truth about my marriage, my relationship? And what's the narrative that I've taken on from other people? And what's my true narrative? You know, there's a lot of that. What's the truth about who I am? And what's the narrative that I've taken on or the narrative that I've created? You know, and it's so easy to create these stories and this narrative around our lives. You know, let's talk about health, for example. You know, it only takes repeating to yourself a few times, you know, that you're not healthy, or I'll never be healthy. I'm never going to be one of those people who are going to go to the gym every day. I'm always so tired. I'm always this, I'm always that. That's the story that you're creating. That's the narrative that you're giving to your own life. And there's been a lot coming through for that. I've written embodiment versus survival mode. Now, one day I was deep into meditation and I was kind of asking myself that I knew I wasn't on it this week. And when I'm not on it, I ask a lot of questions. So why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing my energy? Why am I not focused on it? Why am I not leading my life with energy? Why am I not? And I ask a lot of questions. What's stopping me? Why am I not doing it? And all of these all these questions that I ask give me data and give me information about who I am in that moment, about what's going on, about where I'm losing energy, draining energy, leaking energy, where I'm connected to things that I shouldn't be connected to, where I'm telling stories, I'm living in a certain way that isn't supporting me and my energy. If you're tired, if you're fatigued, and I am nearly always tired and fatigued, right? If you're tired and fatigued, there is something that is going on that is draining your energy. Now, it could be that you are telling yourself a story that your inner being is kind of fighting with, if you want to put it that way. So you're saying, you know, oh, I don't know, I'll never be healthy, I'll never be healthy, I'll never be healthy, I'll never be healthy. And your inner being's going, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. You're creating this kind of like internal kind of fight. You will always be tired because you're always fighting with yourself, you know? And then, anyway, I was in meditation and I kind of was asking these questions and it came through them. Human beings are not meant to be stagnant, right? We're not meant to stay in the same place. We're not meant to get to a certain level of wealth, of growth, of self-development, of age, of whatever, and stay at that level. When we become stagnant, our energy reduces, our vibration reduces, our frequency reduces, our life force reduces, right? When our life force reduces, we get tired. When our frequency reduces, we move into the lower energy emotions. So we move from positivity, contentment, into frustration, overwhelm, anger, depression, you know, and we move down that cycle. I can't remember, I don't know the emotional guidance scale off the top of my head, but we move down that cycle, okay? So what that tells us, and what I was told in this meditation, is if we are not living to our fullest potential, we will never feel happy in our lives. Because if we are not living to our fullest potential, then our cells are not vibrating as they should. You look at anyone who is dedicated and committed to a goal, and it is a passion for them, and it is something that they love. They have energy, okay? They don't need to sleep 20 hours a day. They don't feel like they want to sleep 20 hours a day. They're not dragging their heels. They're not kind of like, walking around like that. They've got this focus. Because they're living to their fullest expansion of that moment, the fullest potential of that moment. So it came through to me that one of the reasons why I'm so tired all the time is because I'm not living to my full potential. And I thought about it and I thought, that is absolutely true. I'm not living to my full potential in health, probably in wealth. Sorry, I lost my track of thought. I'm not living to my fullest potential in a lot of areas of my life. Am I doing enough to get by? Absolutely. Am I doing maybe a little bit more than enough to get by? Absolutely. Am I living to my fullest potential? Am I expanding? So the space that my world takes up, am I filling it? Am I expanding to the absolute limits of that? No. Am I bringing my limits here? Yeah. And so because I am not living to my fullest potential, my fullest expansion right now, my frequency isn't as high as it could be, isn't as fast as it could be. My life force energy isn't as fast as it could be. And therefore, I'm tired. Therefore, you know, sometimes I do just feel kind of frustrated, overwhelmed, fed up at the moment. It's because I'm not living to my highest potential. And as soon as I heard myself tell myself this, things started to change. Now, would I have got that nudge, that piece of information if I'd have been doing everything? Possibly not. If I'd have been doing everything, I wouldn't have needed the nudge maybe. I don't know, whatever. But I got that nudge. And that nudge opened up so much more for me because it opened up not a hustle energy. I don't need to go into the gym because I want to be a smaller size, I want to be this, I want to be that, hustle, hustle, hustle. Am I in the right frame of mind? No, hustle, hustle, hustle. I don't need to do that because I know right now in this moment that deep down, my soul, my higher self, whatever, knows that I am not living a healthiest life, that I put to the fullest potential right now. And so it changes the vibe with which you approach something, because instead of approaching something with this energy of hustle, I suppose, I don't really know how else to explain it. Oh, I must go in the gym. I've got to go in the gym. Oh, I can't eat lasagna because it's not healthy. I'm going to have to eat a lettuce leaf. You lose that because you already are the healthiest you can possibly be. You're just not living your fullest expansion of that. You're just not living your fullest potential of that. It's not something you have to become. It's something you already are. And approaching something from a place of, I already am that, and I am just going to expand myself to the fullest potential within that, is a very different mindset to, I need to change who I am to become that. And that was kind of like a little bit of embodiment and survival mode that was going on for me. It is the last quarter moon week, which is all about letting it go. It is reality checks. It's cutting cords. It is questioning, wait, do I even believe this anymore? So you can see how, even just looking at the moon without bringing everything else in, I'm in alignment. Okay, this week I have been in alignment with the energy. And then something that I'm playing with at the moment, and I'm not there yet, is I listened to an Abraham Hicks video. When I'm in this zone where I am not doing my energetic practices, I tend to be absorbing information from everywhere. So I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to videos, and oftentimes it's because I'm chasing something down as to what's the magic button that I need to flick this back on again. When I'm on my energy-led life, I don't need outside information because there's enough intuition coming and wisdom coming through myself that I don't need to collect it from anywhere else. But when I am not leading an energy-led life, I do need to reach out and find information, and I search for the magic button, but there's no magic button because the magic button's inside of me, right? Anyway, I was just looking for something to listen to, and an Abraham Hicks video came up on YouTube, and I listened to it, and they were talking about how Esther used to get herself overwhelmed. She had so many things on her to-do list, all that kind of stuff. Not necessarily to-do list, but, a joyful to-do list, shall we say. What are the things that she really wants to do? And Abraham was talking about how Esther had this big list, and it was suggested that she filter it. She almost do 2 columns on her piece of paper, and it be, these are the things that I want to do. These are the things that I'm going to hand over to the universe. So if you look at your to-do list and your life in that way, how does that shift the heavy load on you, the heavy burden on you? Because the minute those 2 things working together this week, am I up to my fullest potential, and what can I hand over to the universe, has really created an element of ease for me this week. Because yes, there are things that you can do, but there are also things that you can ask for and let the universe deal with. Let the universe take care of that. I'm not going to take care of that. So how can I give an example of this? So, okay, let's imagine that you need, some new shoes, okay? Some new work shoes. This isn't exciting shopping. It's cold outside. You don't want to go outside. You just want to stay home. You can kind of leave that with the universe. You can be like, I know I need new shoes for work. I know in my head the kind of style I want. What I can't be bothered doing is searching for them. So I'm going to hand that over to the universe, and I'm going to say, universe, bring the shoes to me. And if you intentionally do that, and you intentionally sit back then with the knowledge that you are expecting at some point to potentially open up Facebook, TikTok, whatever it might be, and see the perfect pair of shoes just waiting there for you to buy them, if you trust that that will happen, then you've handed that over to the universe to search for them for you. You don't need to search for them. The universe is going to do it, and they're just going to appear for you. You know, maybe similarly, maybe I'm just kind of doing ones that are kind of about finding things, but, you know, maybe, you know, you've lost something in your house, and, you know, you can either spend the next hour ransacking your house, or you can hand that over to the universe and say, universe, you know, show me where it is. At some point, at the right time, show me where it is. And you can hand that over to the universe, you know? So I'm yet to build my to-do list and to decide which ones I'm handing over to the universe, but I have noticed things as I've gone through my week, and I've been like, I could hand that over to the universe. So anyway, that's kind of my vibe for this week. It hasn't been the greatest week. You know, I haven't been on it from a food perspective. I haven't been on it from an energetic, you know, I am sorting my frequency perspective. I haven't been doing any of my practices. I have been in survival mode. You know, life has just, it's disappeared past me this week. It has felt like I've been clinging on for dear life. It's gone really quick. And here I am, you know, recording this on the Friday with what feels like not much value to bring to you, but there has been some amazing insights. Those insights have been in alignment with the energy. There is a collective shift happening at the moment. I'm not sure where it's taking us. We can't control the connect. So our reality is created from the frequency we are in. So the frequency you give off. So if I'm giving off a tired frequency, then more things will come into my world to keep me tired, okay? When we are giving off a frequency, right, that frequency merges with the collective, merges with the other humans who, you know, are giving off a frequency. So everybody, it merges with everything that is giving off a frequency, and that creates the frequency of the world, and the frequency of the world creates the reality of the world and the future of the world. And oftentimes when things are happening that we don't like, that we don't believe in, that we, you know, don't make us feel good, we can focus on the energy of that. So we could be in a angry energy. And by being in an angry energy, we are fueling that, in the sense that if we are in an angry energy, then we are creating more things to be angry about. Okay? So the key when stuff is happening in the world, in your life even, in everything, the key to change and being able to transform it and being able to do your piece for the change is to change your frequency. If something makes you angry, you have to release the anger and shift your frequency. And sometimes it makes you feel like you're insensitive. Sometimes it makes you feel like you live in a little bubble. But that is how, if everybody in the world suddenly decided tomorrow to give off a positive frequency, then the world would change, because it would have no choice. It couldn't stay how it is right now if every single person was giving off a positive energy. And you can go deep into that because it's also pockets, you know? There's pockets of energy. What's the pocket of energy that the UK is living in right now? What's the pocket of energy that America is living in right now? And the only way to change, there's two ways that things change. The energy around us, the universe, which forces an energy upon us that makes us shift, or our own focus and intentionality on who we want to be. Interesting. Don't know where that came from, but there you have it. So, okay, I say it every week. There are videos that are brewing in the background. I'm just not, because I'm not doing my routine, I'm not getting the energy to do them for you. I'm gonna try and come in on Monday morning with a note for the energy of the week ahead, just so that really mostly about physical symptoms. That's mostly what I want to focus on. So that you have a heads up if there's going to be headaches, if you have a heads up if you're going to feel extra tired, all that kind of stuff. We've got a big new moon on the 17th. Eclipse corridor is coming. Eclipse corridor, it shakes everything up. It's what you haven't dealt with, it's going to deal with for you. That's what's coming. That's the energy that's coming. That's it. Done. Signing off. I hope something in that has resonated and activated something within you. And I will see you next Friday, if not before. Catch you later.